You know, I was
happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
It's got a lot of power.
Come on, Greg. You're asking a guy whose team name is Pellet Envy. So obviously the answer you're going to get is no.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine. How's it going?
Charbono. It's all about the Charbono, dude. I just like being anywhere with Junior, Senior, and Diva.
Sounds like a whole other type of movie.
Wow. Yeah, really.
You could use it to fight off creeping marauders looking to take your steaks off your grills.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
How hot is Kelly Ripa in person?
Kelly Ripa is super hot. She's absolutely delicious.
Oh, yeah.
You could butter baste her and pint Twinkies with that girl. She's delish.
Well, to put it briefly, let's just say I went to school.
There's no Robert Porker who's in charge of pig meat out there.
Is it not correct to properly classify you as Harry Sue's pit bitch?
I was his pit bitch for 6 weeks. I had no shame. I was. Keep it hot, keep it clean, keep it lubricated.
Succulent fish. What?
This right here is the premier media outlet.
So did you see this one? Tiger Woods has gone ahead and checked into sex rehab. Hey, Tiger, guess what? Everybody's addicted to sex.
I'm shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Who? Top men.
Oh, and just like that, we are back with After Dark, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, hopefully you're sticking around. Big star coming up here in just a few minutes. Chris Lilly of Big Bob Gibson's Restaurant. Competition cooking team, TV fame, cookbook fame. Lots to talk about with Chris Lilly. Thanks to my guests from last hour. Oh, by the way, 2 minutes after the top of the hour, 58 minutes till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks to Rod Gray and Darren Worth and Steve Farron. That would be Pellet Envy, Iowa Smoky D's, and I Smell Smoke, respectively, for doing the Brisket Roundtable from 9 to 10 tonight. Awesome show. It'll be an archived format in about 12 hours from now. You can subscribe via iTunes if you want. Don't matter to me. You can also get the show with RSS. You know what? I think one day I'm going to do the After Dark session with only me. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that nobody's going to care about. Just me and you, honey. That's right. All right. Again, we're going to be joined by Chris Lilly here in just a minute or so. And again, the archive show, I'm already getting emails about the barbecue roundtable that took place. And I think if you go back through the annals of time and listen to the show, if you've been a listener to the show before, one of the most popular podcasts that we've ever done, and this was when I was just doing podcasts, let alone the radio show, was the Brisket Roundtable that I did with Ray Lampe and Leanne Whippen and Fast Ed Morin and Jim Minion. It's still probably one of the most downloaded podcasts to date of all the shows that I've done. And tonight with Rod Gray and Steve Farron and Darren Worth, certainly going to be a classic, to be sure. Lots of great information shared by some of the best brisket cooks out there. Rod, of course, won that category last year as well. All right, let's go to the hotline. Joining me now, of Big Bob Gibson's fame, he's won a bunch of barbecue competitions. He's got links with Kingsford, and quite honestly, he's movie star, good looks, no doubt. It's Chris Lilly joining us here on the Barbecue Central Show. Chris, how are you tonight?
It's good to be here. Absolutely great to be here. I hate I actually missed the podcast, but you better believe I'm going to go back and learn all about some brisket.
Oh, man, if you're looking to get into the brisket, to have three of the top brisket cooks, and, of course, Rod won the category last year, and they really, to me, when we do the roundtables, Chris, it's like, are these guys really going to come on and lay it all out there? Because, quite honestly, anybody could be listening or get them in a podcast show after the show actually airs. and they're just kind of doling out information. But these guys laid it all out on the line, and I think that's kind of a testament to not only what type of guys these are in general, but I always hear from the top cooks, and I'm sure you would agree to this. I'll tell you whatever you want, but it's up to you to actually go out and do what I just told you, and that's probably where the disconnect lies.
That's exactly right. And it was a fabulous lineup, absolutely. And but you're exactly right. They don't mind sharing the information, because actually going out there and doing it, you've really got to put in your time. As I say in my book, the greatness of a pitmaster is really determined by the size of his ash pile. You've got to cook the barbecue. You've got to burn the wood and build up those ashes and get time on the grill in the backyard.
All right, so Chris, it's been a little while since we've had you back on the show, and we have a good mix of live listeners now that are obviously well familiar with you. They're following you on the Facebook fan pages and all that good stuff. But then I would say we probably have a good portion of listeners that are a little bit more on the periphery of the competition and the business side of things, TV side of things, just more backyard folks. Can you give us a little brief history about you and how you actually got involved in barbecue and Big Bob Gibson's in particular?
Absolutely. It's one of those things where I've always been a foodie, but met my wife in college. Just so happens my wife was Big Bob Gibson's great-granddaughter. He started the restaurant a long time ago, 1925, in Decatur, Alabama. And they've been humming along ever since. And I was really fortunate enough to jump on board back in 1991. And, been in the pits ever since. And it's something that I fell in love. It's a passion for me, and it's the great thing about it now is I get to go out and share it, and tell people what I've learned, and really get out there and preach barbecue and have a good time and travel the country.
It seems that one of the hardest things to do anywhere is to keep a restaurant. Well, first it would be to open it, but then to keep it open and then continually keep it open year after year after year, getting that client base and getting the repeat customers and finding the new customers to keep the revenues coming in. And you've actually taken it one step further and started to franchise out the Big Bob Gibson. So we kind of have a couple questions about that. First of all, how is it going with the franchising of the Big Bob Gibson's restaurants?
Well, that is one thing that we do have. We do, but we're not out there, really advertising or promoting that. It is available. So one thing that, if anybody is interested, it's one of those things where the people that we're interested that we would trust to handle the Big Bob Gibson name has to have a lot of restaurant experience. It's one of those things where a doctor and a lawyer comes up to you and say, hey, we want to do a Big Bob Gibson franchise. Usually the answer to that is absolutely not. You definitely have to have the funds, but more so you have to have the time and the knowledge and the devotion to it. That's what makes barbecue great. But we've got a location in Monroe, North Carolina, outside of Charlotte, and they've been open over 3 years now. And, we're getting a lot of interest, but again, we're not out there promoting it, looking to open up 100 franchises in 2 years or anything like that. We're just rolling right along, and if the opportunity comes up for us to do another restaurant, we'll look at it and weigh its merits.
Right, so if you're looking at it, if I were somebody that has the experience behind me, let's say, and then obviously the liquidity to get into this, or the portfolio to get into this financially, why would I want to look at Big Bob Gibson's franchise or a franchise in general versus, buying out the burnout Dairy Queen, rehabbing that, owning it, and going it alone? What are your, 2 or 3 biggest points on why you would want to look at a franchise, I guess?
The reason I would look at a Big Bob Gibson franchise is, again, we've been doing this since 1925, and also we're out there promoting the restaurant and putting the name out there in front of people. That's what I mean. A lot of times when I travel, that's what I'm doing. I'm promoting the restaurant, the magazine articles and the television shows I do and everything. We're not only preaching barbecue and teaching people, but we put the Big Bob Gibson name out in front of them. Also, it's proven. It's a restaurant that is proven. That's been there for so long. So it's got a proven track record. It's a success. And we put the name out in front of a lot of people. So that takes care of a lot of your investment in advertising. And what you would normally pay in advertising, renovating the Dairy Queen and putting your own advertisements and everything out there. the franchise fee that you would pay us actually takes care of that and more.
Plus the white sauce.
Absolutely.
Yeah, reason alone.
There you go.
All right, so when we were talking the last time, we were kind of discussing about how come you haven't come out with a cookbook yet. And that seemed to be a big question to some of the other guys that you have good relationships with, namely Myron Mixon and Ray Lampe as well, of course, who has published a number of them. So you finally come out with one, the Big Bob Gibson's barbecue book, Recipes and Secrets from a Legendary Barbecue Joint. How did it all unfold, and what can we expect as a potential buyer of the product to see and read and get out of the purchase?
Greg, it could have been you that pushed me over the edge and made me go out and actually do
I bet.
it. I will tell you this. It's a lot easier to say you're going to write a cookbook and then to go actually do it. That is a tough job, and I tell you, I admire the writers out there that do this over and over again, such as Ray Lampe and a lot of the cookbook authors out there. It was a project. It took me probably a good solid year to write. And some of the best compliments that you can tell me after picking up a book is, one, Chris, I read this thing from cover to cover. There are a lot of cookbooks that I get, I'll pick up, and I thumb through it, and pick out a couple recipes that I might like. But for somebody to actually tell me, hey, Chris, I read the book, loved it, that really means a lot. The second best compliment is, Chris, I cooked some recipes out of this book, and, my family was, very, very pleased. I mean, anytime somebody actually uses the recipes, that's really why I wrote the book. A couple reasons to put the recipes in front of people, but mainly is a story that needed to be told. I mean, Big Bob Gibson, did so much for, I guess, my life. That's the restaurant I work at, and it was there, and the reputation was there before I got there. I just helped spread it around a little bit, but is a story about him that needed to be told. If you pick up this book, you're going to learn about him, you're going to learn about the restaurant, and a lot of fun stories along the way. As far as the recipes go, a lot of the recipes in the book are old family recipes, recipes that we use every day in the restaurant. There's a lot of recipes that we have actually won competitions with in the book, and again, I don't hold anything back in the book as well. And then some of the recipes, when I go out and travel and do caterings and do like the South Beach Wine and Food Festival, or do caterings in New York or the James Beard Foundation, or sort of, I call them a little maybe high-end barbecue recipes, or just pushing the box a little bit. Some of the stuff is, just when I travel around, those are the recipes that I use, all over, and I've jammed those in the book as well. So there's a lot of great appetizer recipes, main course recipes, and even desserts, sauces, rubs. It's all in there.
So what's the go-to Chris Lilly recipe? What's your favorite one out of the book?
Well, I tell you what, just right off the top of my head, one of my favorites has 5 ingredients. It's the airline chicken breast with basil butter, and it is chicken breast. It is salt, pepper, butter, and basil. It's that simple. But talk about a fantastic recipe. And you're talking something that the prep and the whole cook will take about 30 minutes, so you can do it at a moment's notice. Those are ingredients I always have around the house, and I do it a lot in my backyard.
Talking with Chris Lilly. He's from Big Bob Gibson's restaurant competition team. You've seen him on TV as well. He's got the book out, Big Bob Gibson's barbecue book, a recipe and secrets from a legendary barbecue joint, tooled around Amazon.com. I think it's on sale for like $16.50 right now, and you can get free Super Shaver shipping too. So if that is going to push you over the edge to buy it, definitely look it up there at Amazon.com. Great price. When you're doing this...
And get the white sauce recipe as well, and then you don't even have to buy a franchise.
Yeah, that's right. See, there you go. When you're taking this time to put together the book, I mean, were there points where you had to go back? Family recipes for me is like, hey, Mom, how do you do this? And all of a sudden it goes into this very weird... Well, it's like a couple pinches of this and just kind of twirl it around the pot a little bit and this and that. Did you have to get that and then actually morph it into teaspoon of this, cup of that?
That is exactly what happened on some of them, especially the baking recipes, because that is definitely not my forte. So one of the fun things about this book is I got to interview a lot of the old timers that have been going to the restaurant for years and years, and then also the relatives that may have some of these old recipes, and to talk to them and to try to translate what they have in their minds and their memories into a recipe that they actually utilized. I mean, some of the recipes were written down, but some were not. Like the barbecue goat, the whole goat that Big Bob Gibson used to do. The recipe was nowhere, so I had to just talk and figure out exactly how he used to do it, and then do a little guessing game as well.
All right, so let's transition out of the book here real quick. Obviously, you're no stranger to television. You've devised some television shows, and most recently, the one that seems to be captivating a lot of the barbecue world was the one put on by John Marcus, who you're good friends with, the Barbecue Pitmasters show, which was on TLC, just picked up for a season 2. But if we look back over season 1, obviously you had a portion of that show. We were actually in it. Holding that aside, because we'll address that here in a second, as somebody who is familiar with television to a certain degree and sees barbecue becoming more and more on television, and, we're kind of working our way down from the OLNs and the Versus Network. Now we're a little closer to kind of that mainstream cable here on TLC. What are your thoughts of the show? How do you think it came across? Do you think it properly portrayed barbecue in general?
Whether it did or not, I tell you, it did one thing. It made people aware. And I guess you can look at what's happening at KCBS and a lot of the barbecue cooking circuits now. They're blowing up. More and more people are interested in barbecue. More and more people are in their backyards grilling, practicing. More and more people are actually going to the circuit contest. There's a lot more companies becoming more and more involved, such as Kingsford. It makes people aware. And the great thing about barbecue on television is people watch these shows and they say, I can do that, and I can beat these guys. I cook great in the backyard. It puts them out with their family and friends more and more. It's just a good thing. So anytime we can put barbecue on television in front of people, it's really good for all of us, not only the industry, but it's good for, it's good for the circuit. And anytime you can get people out of the house in the backyard grilling out, it's a good thing.
Now, you did work with John Marcus in a previous life, right?
John's a great guy, and it's really funny. I met John Marcus probably at about 4:30 in the morning on the streets of New York at the Big Apple Barbecue Block Party. He was there helping Paul Kirk, and I was cooking at there myself, and we got to talking at 4:30 in the morning. Struck up a conversation and a friendship, and we've been friends and actually business partners, since then. We like you had mentioned earlier, we did All-Star Barbecue Showdown together. We did Barbecue Championship Series. Those were 2 series on OLN and Versus a few years ago, and had a blast doing them. John's been cooking on my team, Big Bob Gibson Barbecue team, for off and on for since we met. We've stayed really close. I think they did a fantastic job with Pitmasters. I was pleased to be on the show last year, and I think it's great that they got another season this year.
Yeah, how did John actually loop you into the show? Did he have to strong arm you, or did he just say, "Hey, Lilly, get into the show and do what you do best"?
John did call me, and he was excited about telling me. I guess he was more excited about telling me about the show and what was going down with it, and it sounded like something that I was interested in and want to be a part of. I guess the problem was last year was it came together so quick for John and so quick for TLC, and they put it together. It's my schedule, it stays fairly busy during the year, and I wasn't able to get out and run all 6 episodes or anything like that, but I was able to squeeze in a couple, and John and TLC Network were very kind in letting me jump in for those 2 episodes, and I really appreciate that and had a good time doing it.
So did John initially offer you one of the initial cast members then?
It's one of those things where we didn't get past, I'm obligated to these events. I've already said that I was going to do these events, and they were, outside caterings and stuff like that, corporate events, and there was really no chance that I could have been involved in all 6 episodes. So the talk was there. John did give me a shout, but we knew from the very beginning that there's no way I could have done all 6 episodes.
All right, so we look at the episode that you were in. Of course, the one that stands out the most is where you and Myron Mixon seem to be going back and forth, with the brisket and all that good stuff. But, it's and for the people that don't know, I mean, you and Myron go way back. You were actually kind of a co-teaching group there along with Ray Lampe over at what was the Greenbrier there at the Barbecue Mastery class. But for the people that don't know, and certainly Myron was a very polarizing character on the show, with the mouth, with the smack talk, with the confidence or the arrogance or the cockiness or whatever you want to call it. Myron, I mean, was this him? Was this a facet of the character? What are your thoughts about the whole thing?
I'll tell you what, you like Myron or not, he was good for the show. He's good for barbecue. I mean, he made the show as popular as it was. I mean, his character, and a lot, you either love him or you hate him. Me and Myron do go way back, and a lot of people ask me that. Is that really Myron? Does he really act like that? Well, just think, this show was shot over, a 2-day period. And they take those 2 days and of filming, and they condense it down to, 40-plus minutes, the hour minus the commercials. So you get a really condensed Myron. So, all his one-liners and zingers, of course they're going to make it on television, without a doubt. But Myron's a great guy. Keep in mind, the only time we ever see each other is when we're competing head-to-head. So there's a lot of competitive juices flowing there. Do I like Myron? Absolutely. Does he like me? I think he likes me. But, after the show, I'm not really sure. I got to go back and ask him.
I guess that was, one of the things for me. Myron has always made time for the show. A lot of you guys, I guess what I would refer to as the upper echelon guys here that are out on the TV and that have really kind of made it in a lot of people's eyes, come on the show, which is extremely gratifying and humbling to me. But he has always made time for the show. He's never even approached a cuss word ever. And then to see you guys where you're kind of bringing out the food and he's kind of looking at you like, this guy's a chump. And then he's saying, you're nobody and I've beaten him so many times. For people to see that, I'm looking at it as one eye going, wow, these guys work together and they compete together. He seems like a real nice guy on the phone with me when we're talking, and so does Chris. It's hard to kind of wrestle with, I want to call BS on that, but then realize, hey, man, this is television, and this is what it's all about because people are getting drawn in, and they're buying it, and this is really what's going to push us over the edge.
I think you've got it nailed. You've got it nailed without a doubt, Tom. But don't think that Myron's not competitive. I mean, Myron is competitive. He definitely wants to win. And what you saw on the television show is Myron. But in the same breath, he's going to help anybody that asks him. He's going to bend over backwards to do what's right and to really showcase barbecue and to promote it. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. On the show, I don't know if that was the real Myron, but again, it was a condensed Myron. And I think it was definitely good for the show and good for barbecue.
All right, so they get a second season. After seeing the first season, now kind of starting to do the filming, the picking process, and all that stuff for what will be season number 2. And from what we've been reading here recently on the internet, for a kind of a big format revamp that kind of reads as if it might be going back to something that you were more familiar with dealing with John Marcus with that Barbecue Championship Series. Is that something that you've heard about? Do you think that would be kind of a good way to go, or could it potentially hurt the show because they're going to be changing formats out and you're not going to be kind of reliant on the same characters week in and week out like you were with the first series?
I actually think it's a good change, and the reason I think it is, it's going to involve more people, and different. A lot more people are going to get to showcase their talents on television. And anytime you can do that, I think it's going to get a lot more people interested, and not only thinking they can get out and do competitions, but say, hey, maybe next year I can be on that show. So I think it's a good change. I'm excited about it.
All right, so let's transition over again to somebody that you had just briefly mentioned as far as companies and organizations looking to get more and more into the barbecue, thanks to, in part by Barbecue Pitmasters there on TLC, a company that you've done some work with, Kingsford Charcoal. And certainly we've had our fun banter back and forth about, using the blue bag and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, nevertheless, you can't argue the fact that Kingsford is really the dominant force when it comes to charcoal. And whenever I've done interviews with other charcoal companies, to me, it's almost unfathomable that somebody would make a known effort to go into the charcoal business, given the fact that whenever you ask somebody about charcoal, I have to imagine 95% of the people are going to kind of imagine that blue and white bag and the Kingsford, the guy on the grill. It just seems so ingrained in the American culture, and you've been dealing with them for a little while now. Why do you choose to go on with Kingsford, and what do you like best about the company?
Well, let me tell you this. First, I applaud Kingsford, and the reason I do that is this is a company that has probably 80% of the market share in charcoal, and they're not sitting back. They're not complacent. What they're out there doing is beating the bushes. They're talking to people. They're talking to their customers. They're going to contests. This is a company that's not only sponsoring contests all over the country, and these are small town contests, but now they've started the Kingsford Point Chase. And they're giving $1,000 prize money to 19 different contests to give to the winners of the people who actually use Kingsford charcoal in the contest. They're also giving away $25,000 as a grand prize at the end of the year. They're not only working the contest, but they're actually trying to improve their product. They're talking and saying, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? And this is a product that they've been. That's been there since after the Model T. I mean, we're talking old, like you said, this is sort of an iconic America. But they're not complacent. They are saying, how can we make this charcoal better? 2 years ago, they came up with a charcoal Kingsford competition. And, that being the charcoal that is a all-natural charcoal, but it's compressed into a briquette, so you get the high heat of lump charcoal, but you also get the extended burn time of briquette. This past year, they said, let's go back and change the recipe. Let's change everything about the blue bag. Okay? What were people's complaints about the blue bag? Too much ash, too much coal. Let's change the formula to not only put a better product in front of the people, but be better for the environment as well. So what did they do? They put more wood char into the product. They reduced the ash. Did you know that Kingsford is using 57 fewer tons of coal per day because of this new product? Wow. I mean, these are changes for the environment. I tell you, I'm impressed with Kingsford. I'm going to be associated with Kingsford for a long time, whether they like it or not.
They have no say in it, so forget about it, Kingsford.
Exactly.
All right, now, one of the things that we've seen aside from taking a large portion of the coal out and all the other stuff that you had mentioned is the fact that they went ahead, and I believe it is across the line, at least in the briquette form, reduce the weight of their briquettes by, instead of, if you're looking on the backside, where instead of the K on the reverse side, you had those fire grooves. Instead of going left to right, now they're actually cutting diagonally, I believe, to actually reduce the weight. Have you had a chance to play around with this product, and is it living up to, nothing changes except we're just reducing the weight of the bag?
Absolutely. I've had a chance to use the product. And again, Kingsford is the type of company that they don't just keep to themselves and do, in company trials. They send bags of charcoal out. And they send me bags and say, Chris, try this. Let us know honestly what you think about it. And they take my feedback and go with it. And they do not just to me, to other people as well. I mean, they listen. I used at the American Royal last year, for example. I used the regular Kingsford blue bag the first day in the Invitational, and then I switched to the new blue bag for the Open, that was as close to a side-by-side comparison at a contest as I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you this, I cooked a heck of a lot better during the Open than I did the Invitational. I got the same burn time, but I was, and it's one of those things, too, I don't cook a lot on competition anymore, and it could have been just knocking the dust off the first day. But I tell you, my food was so much better the next day. And the new charcoal, I tell you, it's I'm using it. I'm loving it. I'm getting just as much or more performance out of it as I did the old stuff, and I'm thinking with a little bit better flavor as well.
Well, I have tried, and I'm a big fan of the competition briquette for sure. And I think perhaps where some people get a little bit lost, and this probably is in the beginner to or intermediate range of skill when it comes to the grill portion or even the barbecue stuff as well. People use Kingsford, or they've had experience with it before, and they see the ash, and then at some point they try lump charcoal, straight lump charcoal.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt there's never going to be any comparison, regardless of what all-natural brand of briquette that you're going to use versus a lump. The lump is always going to produce substantially less ash than a briquette. So people shouldn't always assume because it's an all-natural briquette that means there's going to be the same amount of ash as lump. But
that is correct, and the main reason because of that is the briquette is compressed, so you actually have more product there than you do with the lump charcoal. Yes, without a doubt. For example, the Kingsford competition produces a lot less ash than the regular blue bag because it definitely has a lot more of the wood char.
Yeah, and I'm certainly a fan of the competition briquette. I use it all the time for overnight cooks in my Weber Smoky Mountains. I'm just a home guy. I'm not a competitor by any stretch.
Hey, and one thing about the weight, you mentioned the weight on the bag too. A lot of you cook really charcoal. You cook with charcoal by volume. You fill up the charcoal chimney, or you dump a bag in a large cooker. You cook really by volume. You don't weigh out and say, look, I'm going to use exactly 2.5 pounds of charcoal for to grill these steaks. Right. You fill up a charcoal chimney, you pour it out, and you go by. What you see is what you get. And I will guarantee you'll get just as much or more performance out of the new blue bag as you did the old stuff. It is really a good quality product. Absolutely.
All right, Chris Lilly giving the stamp of approval of the new lighter weight Kingsford across the board, no doubt about it. So, lastly, let's go ahead and move on to maybe some more promotional stuff for you. Obviously, a busy guy traveling, around the barbecue globe, as it were. So what are some of the upcoming things that you have in your schedule? Are you going to be doing that little Memphis in May type thing?
Yeah, I go back there this year. Again, one of my favorite contests. I've been doing Memphis in May since 1997. So going back to Memphis to cook the whole pork shoulder in that contest. That's coming up. I'll be there the whole week, probably the 12th through the 16th of May. The actual contest is the 14th and 15th, Friday, Saturday. So definitely looking forward to that one. And then we get into June. We got a really busy June. We go with the Big Apple Barbecue Block Party. That's the weekend of the 12th and 13th. Close down Madison Avenue. 120,000 people will be there. There's usually have about 15, 16, 18 teams up there cooking, treating New Yorkers for different regional styles of barbecue. It's a great event. And then it's off to the National Taste of Elegance. That's a National Pork Board puts that on. I'm flying to Baltimore to actually judge a culinary contest there. And then it's out to Aspen Fine Wine and Food Festival, and that's the weekend of June 18th and 19th. I'll be there actually enjoying Aspen and cooking a little Q.
Well, if you get sick that weekend, I'll be more than happy to fill in for you. Just drop my name.
This is my first time out there for that culinary event, so I'm really looking forward to it. I always enjoy South Beach every year. Last weekend in February, and that's another wine festival I've always wanted to do. So I'm looking forward to Aspen.
If I could go back to two things real quickly, we talk about Memphis in May, certainly one of the most storied competitions in barbecue folklore and history. I mean, certainly you have a special affinity for Memphis in May. You've won it a number of times. A lot of people consider that to be the coup de grace of all barbecue competitions. However, you have competed in a number of other sanctioning bodies. You spread it around, so you've seen how other organizations and other competitions act. Are you still a Memphis and May boy at heart?
You know, I tell you, I mean, I really like them all. The past few years, I've done Memphis in May, and I've done the American Royal. And for the past couple of years, those are the only two I've done. Before that, you know, I did 3 or 4 contests a year. And I guess in my heyday, maybe 7 or 8 contests a year. I always like to split them up because I like both contests. The advantage of Memphis in May, I think, is the teams that make the finals, they compete head-to-head with the same judges.
Right. And
I love that. I absolutely love that. To go head-to-head against Myron Mixon with the same judges, are you kidding me? That is awesome. You know, you're not guaranteed that at the KCBS contest. What I love about KCBS contests, you know, everybody's on a level playing field. You know, it's all blind judging. So, you know, in that regard, it seems fair as well. There's no perfect judging system. I like them both. I like to cook both. KCBS, you know, you cook a lot more. You know, you cook 4 categories. As Memphis in May, you can just get by with cooking 1 category.
All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about briefly was that Big Apple Barbecue Block Party. I mean, for the people that don't know about this, this is really like one of the premier barbecue events that take place during the course of the year. And again, I believe you said it was in June. I mean, could you give the listeners kind of a setup or a verbal pictorial of what this event is really about and who's there and really the mania that is barbecue down there in New York City?
I tell you, New Yorkers love their food. I mean, you know, whether it's whether it's barbecue or Indonesian or Chinese, or I mean, they love their food and they like authenticity. So when you say you're going to put on a barbecue block party in New York, they're going to come out. And I tell you, Union Square Food Group did it right. They invited cooks from the different regions of barbecue. So you'll have somebody there cooking whole. Ed Mitchell usually comes and cooks whole hog, and he's from North Carolina. We're always there doing pulled pork shoulder. Usually they have somebody from Texas. Sometimes it's the Salt Lick. They'll come and do beef brisket. So everybody goes to New York. They do their specialty, what they're known for, a main course and a side dish, and that's what they feed. Whoever comes, and the people, New Yorkers, they come out in droves. Also, people travel from all over the country to come out there, because where else can you go and in one place get barbecue specialties basically from every region across the U.S.?
Yeah, certainly an event to get out to if you have the means. We highly recommend it, no doubt about it. We're talking with Chris Lilly from Big Bob Gibson's restaurant. Chris,
and let me give you a little bit of advice.
Go ahead.
Come early. I think service is from 11 to 6, but people start lining up in our line probably an hour before the event starts, and I will never see the end of the line until we run out. And we usually run out probably between 5 and 6 o'clock. So, again, it's just one of those cook as much as you can, serve to the people. We'll cook about 408 whole pork butts for that weekend. And that's just 2 days, service 11 to 6.
A lot of pork being served out there.
A lot of pork.
All right, this is Chris Lilly, again, Big Bob Gibson's restaurant. Chris, I know I kept you maybe a little bit longer than you might have anticipated tonight, but appreciate running the gamut between the book, the TV shows, Kingsford, and then your appearances that you're going to be having upcoming here. Always appreciate the time you make out for the show, and we'll look for you again soon.
Greg, love the show, and thanks for the invitation, my friend.
All right, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
There he is, Chris Lilly. Yeah. Very nice. Diva, you want to meet Chris Lilly? Email me with that request. I'll make sure that happens. If you were looking for Chris Lilly's link, just go to Amazon.com. That's the easiest way. If you want to help me out, you can visit the Barbecue Central forum by going to thebbqcentral.com. and clicking into I guess right on the splash page, there's a little thing that says Amazon, or you can go into the forum, become a member, learn about barbecue and grilling with some of the best people out there, backyard enthusiasts, also big-name competitors on the competition circuit. Visit there every so often. But it's a great place to learn and hone your skills when it comes to outdoor backyard barbecue and grilling. Again, that's thebbqcentral.com. That's my forum that supplements the show, which airs here on the Barbecue Central radio networks every Tuesday. Click on the little Amazon link and then go ahead and search Chris Lilly or Big Bob Gibson's barbecue book. $16.50. I mean, that's pretty cheap. You get a good history on Big Bob Gibson himself, a professed ebullient character by Chris in previous interviews that I've done with him. And again, you can find that at Amazon.com, about $16.50. So there you go. Go out and buy your blue and white bag of Kingsford. I don't know. We didn't get into it tonight, but we've had discussions in the past about my non-liking of that portion. I do like the competition briquette. That's not me sucking ass on Chris Lilly. I like the competition briquette. I use it. And quite honestly, I do like Stubbs, hardwood charcoal briquette as well, but there's rumor that Lowe's will stop carrying that. If they stop carrying it, they're not going to stop carrying who? Kingsford, of course. I mean, why would they stop carrying that? It's, again, 80% of a market share is almost like monopoly as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they have name domination, not brand recognition, name domination. Much like BCRN has in the streaming online radio world when it comes to barbecue. All right, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again to Chris Lilly for coming on After Dark. Big Bob Gibson's. Check him out at the Memphis in May Big Apple Barbecue Block Party. The Taste of Elegance National Pork Board puts that on. Aspen Food and Wine Festival. Get his book at Amazon.com. Again, Kingsford. He knows John Marcus. I don't know John Marcus. Also, thanks to my brisket roundtablers from earlier last hour from 9 to 10. Rod Gray from Pellet Envy, Darren Ward from Iowa Smoky D's, and Steve Farron from I Smell Smoke. Next week, we resume regularly scheduled type shows. Ted Reeder is going to be coming on. He's going to pull two segments. A very unorthodox or a very unusual two-segment guest, but Ted can do it. He's the man. And we have Bob Garnash from the Ribolator coming on After Dark to talk about the HPB Expo that took place in Florida earlier in the month. So stay tuned for that. Until next Tuesday, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Reppy. Good night now.